Now, have you ever wondered what it would be like to do Dryanuary, go off of alcoholic beers for the full 31 days, and what it would be like when you return back to alcohol or alcoholic beers back on the 1st of February? And would there be any difference? Would there be any noticeable flavors? Do you get more aroma? Do you get more of your senses heightened because you haven't had it before? We are going to try and find out with this West Coast style IPA. It's Flagship February here in Ireland, and this is it's kind of a cult classic here in Ireland. It's McGargle's. It's France's Big Bangin IPA. It's a West Coast style IPA. There was never going to be any other beer that I would pick, or at least the style anyway, on my return to beer. We're actually the 3rd of February now, so I'm a few days late already. Big Bangin IPA up next. So welcome back to Views on Brews. I am Brendan, and this is, of course, France's Big Bangin IPA. Have a look at the bottle there. It is a classic West Coast style IPA. It's 7.1%. It's packed full of tropical flavour. It's one of those iconic beers in Ireland that you just come to rely on. It's a little bit maligned in the sense that, you know, you can get it in a couple of supermarket chains, and you can get it in independent off licenses, and it's kind of getting a little bit forgotten. So I'm here today to bring back this beer. It's Flagship February. We are going to get into this now and have my first sip of proper alcoholic beer in 34 days. Let's get into it. Okay, so during the month of January, I tried a total of 26 alcohol-free options, including a couple of kombuchas, some healthy style beer drinks. Look at that, it pours so fantastic. And a lot of hits, a lot of misses. Oh my God. I cannot wait to get the first sip of this. It's been 34 days in the waiting. I've enjoyed Dryanuary. Don't get me wrong. There's been some cracking beers from Lervig and Tool and Kinnegar and Roadworks and Weinstefener. There's been some good ones. There's been some terrible ones though, in fairness. But I know when I taste this beer, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It always was. I think it's been around now for 5 years. I think back in 2016, if I'm not wrong. This beer has won 14 awards. It's won World IPA Beer of the World Award a couple of times at least in that category. Anyway, cheers, sláinte. I'm back. Oh, that is so good. The first thing that I can tell you is that I instantly know that I'm drinking an alcoholic beer, as opposed to all of the non-alcoholic beers that just don't have that warmth that alcohol gives you. Now, we don't notice alcohol in the lower percentages as much as we do in, say, the big, the opposite end, the barrel-aged barley wines, where we get that big warming hit of alcohol. In the sense that, if you had a shot of whiskey, you get that burning alcohol. When you pair it all the way back down to like 3 or 4% beers, you don't get it so much, you don't notice it. But I tell you, you do notice it after having 34 days off and coming back and trying a 7.1% West Coast style IPA. It's absolutely everything I was hoping to taste in a beer. It looks just fantastic. Have a look at that. There's a nice little touch of haze on it. Great bit of nucleation coming up on this glass as well. I don't often use nucleated pint glasses. I'm quite in tune with using tulip glasses over the past while. I kind of like them, but I actually think this beer really suits this pint glass. Is it a Willie Belcher style glass? I think it is. Nice thick condensed shaving foam consistency head of foam on this beer. It's golden. It's golden syrup golden. It's just so inviting looking, and really, really good strong carbonation coming up from the beer. Let's have a little check and see what it smells like on the nose. Oh, it has a really, really interesting aromatic, herbal and floral nose, along with a whole bunch of tropical and citrus notes. There's an element of spiciness to this, almost like a peppery note to the nose. And then you get all of those real classic West Coast hop, American sort of hop ideas, where you're getting tropical fruits and you're getting a bit of stone fruit in there, and you're getting you're getting a little bit of berry. I know there's Mosaic in here. I know there's Simcoe hops in here, and there's also Columbus hops. They're high alpha acid hops. At least the Simcoe and the Columbus will definitely give you some sort of floral and spicy notes on the top. But that classic aroma on the nose of Simcoe, you get that passion fruit, and it just pops out of this beer. I always used to think when I first had this beer that the aromas that I was getting was pineapple, and what I think that is the combination of hops. There's a high acidity from the alpha acids in the hops. That same acidity is reminiscent of aroma profiles that you get from pineapple, and that's why I think I always thought there was a really big bang of pineapple on this. And it does have a little bit of pineapple. I'm just but there's a nice herbal aroma to this beer. Fantastic. Let's get a sip of this beer, have a proper go at it. I'm absolutely salivating. I had no idea I was going to be like this. Anyway, let's have another go. Cheers. One of the really interesting flavor and aroma descriptors, or flavor descriptors, of Mosaic, and I think it might be the same for Columbus. There's a bubblegum, a light sort of character of bubblegum. And until someone points that out to you, you don't really notice it. It just comes across as an interesting flavor profile. And then your mind's immediately brought around to all of that floral and tropical fruit flavors. But there's a real distinct bubblegum note to this beer. And it's not out of place in any sense of... mango. It's just packed with tropical fruit. It's absolutely fabulous. This is literally the perfect choice of a beer. Have a look at the bottle there. It's McGargles. When they first came out, I think it was, I don't know, it was around about 2015, I think. Around about that time, they got themselves quite a harsh time of it with the consumers, because the quality of the beer they were producing just wasn't quite there yet. And it's the same with a lot of breweries. When you first start out, you have that initial settling in phase, working out the equipment, working out how to brew, working out, what things you want in your beers. And this was the beer that really, for me, turned it around for them. Their beers did suddenly get a bit better. I think that when the new brewer came in, their beers just absolutely changed for the better. And when this beer in particular came out, I remember thinking, wow, these guys have literally made the best IPA in the country. And it bore out, because over the last few years, it has been consistently winning at the World Beer Awards. But more so than that, it's been one of those beers that the peers in the industry, both brewers and craft beer nerds, have all said at one point or another that Big Bangin IPA is an absolute classic. Big Bangin IPA. It really just does the job, and it absolutely delivers. It's 7.1% and it has a huge amount of bittering. Well, not a huge amount. There is a little bit of restraint going on in the bittering, but there's a huge amount of lingering aftertaste of bitterness and fruitiness as well, and a little bit of stone fruit. But backing that up and supporting it is a malt profile that really does the job of holding its own. I happen to know that this beer has, because you can look it up on their website, it has Maris Otter and Pale Ale malts in it. Maris Otter's an absolute classic. The types of flavors that I'm getting from the malt profile are very clean. There is kind of like a very low sweetness to it. The sweetness is, I could say there's a medium sweetness to this malt character. It's a little bit biscuity. It's on the lighter spectrum. It's more about the juicy hop profile going on, and just the malt blending in and supporting it so that you don't notice one or the other. But and that's just classic for IPA style beers. And really what I like about this beer, what I really like about it, is that there's aromatic hop aroma and flavor going on in it. So you're not just getting tropical fruits, you're not just getting like a juicier profile, you're also getting this real level of depth of layered hop aroma flavors going on in there. And that sort of like pininess going on. There's plenty of pine, but it's melded in. It's got a huge amount of interplay with those aromatic hops. So I love it for that. I think it's just like, it's not one dimensional. It's not just one single direction. Let's say, you know, it's like all really peachy or really spicy peppery. It has a whole lot of layers to it. And I think that's what made this beer so successful. There's a nice mouthfeel to this beer. It has a slick, oily mouthfeel, but that aromatic, slightly peppery, slightly bitter, more tropical sort of oiliness just coats the mouth. And the aromatic, or the herbalness of the hops and that peppery, that lightly spicy bit just lingers on after the actual bitterness of the taste goes away. And that's really interesting. What a fantastic beer this is. It's pungent. It's really, really aggressively West Coast IPA. It does say on the back, tropical assault, restrained malt, gentle balance, fruit finish. And I really have to agree. They've nailed those taglines spot on. Yeah, I really think this is the type of beer that deserves to stay the course. One of those beers that, you know, deserves a place in Irish modern craft brewing history, let's say. You know, I hope to see this in 10 years' time, still on the shelves, still there, still pottering away. They don't need to change the flavour. They don't need to do anything to it. Just keep brewing it exactly the same. I don't always have this beer. I haven't had this beer in about a year and a half, in fairness now, because there's so many options out there. But I'd be interested to know if any of you have had this beer recently. It's under €3 as well, is the other thing, for a 7% beer. beer. And for one of the best flavored beers in the country, we're now paying 4, 5, 6 and 7 for one-off smaller batches of beer. So I can understand why the price point for this is a lot lower, because it's made in quantity, which is absolutely great. But I really think this is such super value for money. You know, if I was to recommend this in any sense, I would say, you know, this is one of those cast iron guarantee beers that is always going to deliver. You know, and that's quite a statement to be able to make about any beer from any brewery, because consistency changes a lot of the time. You know, we're seeing new beers from week to week, from day to day even. And when it comes to a beer like this, and a brewery like Rye River Brewing Company who make this beer, it's just going to be, you know, it's part of the furniture, let's call it that. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, have you tried France's Big Bangin IPA recently? When was the last time you had it, and are you going to have it now because you've seen this video? That's part 2. I think that's going to wrap it up for my introduction back into beer. Let me have a quick sip. So damn good, so damn good. Right, that's going to wrap it up from me. In part 3, I'm going to be quickly doing a review of the non-alcoholic beers I tried during January, and just wrapping up the whole of my experience. My taste buds are absolutely firing on all cylinders. This is a Big Bangin IPA, and I am on to the next one. Cheers, Slancher. Bye-bye.